Hell yeah.
Jordan, are you a Steelers fan?
Yeah, I was born in Pittsburgh.
Damn, this whole time I thought you were kind of cool, but like now it's just
It's okay. My wife is a Ravens fan, so
that's even
Very
worse
nice.
somehow. But no offense to your wife. Like, no
whoa, Lamar, come on.
I mean,
Not
Lamar
Lamar's
rocks.
cool, but
King
I'm just-
Henry is the one driving the ship right now.
That is
Wait, so how do
true.
y'all deal with like the competition? Like whenever you guys play each other? 'Cause
We don't talk
it happens
about
twice
it.
That's fair. Smart.
Go
Well,
to
you
separate
know,
parts of the house.
speaking of football, I'm 5-0 in my or maybe 6-0 in my fantasy league because I have Derrick Henry and Lamar Jackson. So it turns out that's all you really need to.
Are you
to
actually
win.
6-0?
I swear to God, yeah, I am.
Only like 3.2% of all fantasy teams are 6-0.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah,
I
I
know.
saw that stat earlier.
How many leagues are you in again, Blake? So the odds are.
No, this is the
No,
only
one.
one this year.
Man,
Only
how
one.
How
Don't
many
let it
people
get
in
to his
the league?
head.
And here's the worst part.
Coming soon.
There's 14 people in this league, bro.
No fucking way
14.
you're 6-0 in a 14-person league.
Bro, I'm about to pull it up right now. I
On
swear
God,
to
you have
God.
to show that to the screen. 'cause
I
there's
will
no
show it
way.
to the screen. Also, while I do that, Anthony. Oh shit! I knocked it over. But you see what shirt I'm wearing?
Oh yeah, AI.
Got
The
the,
true
AI,
AI.
shirt.
Oh, it's
yeah,
Alan.
yeah.
Mm-hmm. Who is an alien? Yeah, we
I
always
love-
have both.
I love
Okay.
sports. Sports guy Blake is my favorite Blake.
Wait, can you hang on?
Yeah, you got to kind of.
Yeah, that works. Yeah, sure,
Looks-
we can see it.
Yeah,
Looks blurry
super
to me.
easy.
Mhm.
I don't
I
know.
just
Especially
don't
everyone
believe
listening.
it.
Yeah,
Yep.
whatever. I will
Screenshot it to us,
screenshot it
right?
and send it. It is 6-0. All right, well, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. It's Totally Biased Music. It's Blake, Anthony, Trey, and special guest, fellow music pretentious listener, moviegoer, cinephile Jordan Farley is back on the
Ooh,
podcast.
full name. Nice.
Yeah.
Love that.
We got some,
Dropping the-
we got some claps for
government name.
Jordan.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, had to drop the full name. There we go. Let him know. Jordan, it's great to have you back. Obviously, we had to bring you on because we're doing something a little different this week, folks. If you didn't tune in last week, this is what we're doing. We are going to listen to and review Led Zeppelin 1 and Led Zeppelin 4. And at the end of this podcast, everybody's going to face a tough decision, and they're going to have to decide which one of these two masterpieces is better. And I want an answer, and I don't want an Anthony answer of, they're both good,
Everything's great.
everything has its place and time. I need a definitive answer.
This is what Blake lives for.
So what I think the best way to do this is we'll start with Led Zeppelin 1. We'll treat it as its own album. We'll go to Led Zeppelin 4. They're both relatively short, so it shouldn't take super long. We'll try to keep it brief so we don't run, an hour and a half long. But does that sound good to you guys, or does anybody have any other preferences to how to handle this?
Only question: are we doing top threes for each album or for both albums combined?
Okay, so Blake didn't pass along the information.
This is
that
what
we
I
had-
would
we
suggest,
had
Jordan.
passed
So
on.
Trey's going to do a thing in a second, he says, but I
Okay.
think we should just do top tracks from like your favorite track from each album, and we can obviously do honorable mention, but keep it at one that you want to dive into. How about that? One from each.
I think that sounds good.
Oh, one song from each?
Yeah. So we'll
Yeah.
each pick our
Jesus.
favorite track from the album.
Only one song? Okay.
So we're limited on time, right?
We
We got to
gotta
pay
keep
the
the-
editor, right?
Yeah, the listeners, they have a limited time frame, and I've heard like an hour and 15 is like the most marketable number, and
Sure.
our biggest sponsor, Bose headphones,
Shout
Those
out.
Those are great.
headphones.
Which
Yeah,
we're all
we-
wearing right
that's
now.
which we're
Yeah,
all wearing.
certainly.
That's what they've asked
Definitely
us for.
Bose.
So yeah,
All right, well, let's get into Led Zeppelin 1. So, little Apple Music intro. When the Yardbirds broke up in 1968, guitarist Jimmy Page and manager Peter Grant quickly hired 3 musicians to play the band's remaining concert dates. Page brought on John Paul Jones, who'd earned a sterling reputation as a session bassist and arranger, and filled out his new band with 2 ringers, a lithe hippie howler named Robert Plant and his friend John Bonham, a drummer who was as wild as Keith Moon, but who maintained the timing of a jazz veteran. Though the 4 musicians were essentially soloists, there was instant chemistry, and the quartet soon changed its name from New Yardbirds to Led Zeppelin and began recording the group's debut album in a couple of weeks. So, with that being said, Yeah, I got thousands of things I could say about this, but how about Anthony? You lead us off. Was this your first? Was this your first full listen? What was your take here going into this?
We're talking Led Zeppelin 1.
Led
So
Zeppelin 1.
I had listened to, so okay, me and Led Zeppelin go back to when I first learned how to work a radio. So like had a lot of tons of overexposure to Led Zeppelin through the radio, but it wasn't until probably I was in college I realized how much of Led Zeppelin's music I actually knew. Just because, they get played in rotation so often. But I wanted to learn Led Zeppelin's music, so I went through at least the first 4 albums with physical graffiti. So I listened to a lot of the discography, but realized that shit, I knew fucking 8 out of 9 of these songs. So so I had listened to it obviously before, but this is a good chance to go back into it. And yeah, I like this format. It's going to be interesting to see kind of where everyone lies, because I have my predictions, but only time will tell. So
Very
it'll be a
true.
good one for sure.
Trey, what about you?
So Led Zeppelin's not the Beatles, so I just want to get that out there. But Led Zeppelin is
what that means.
Is a pretty solid band. The thing about Zeppelin is like they're essentially like the very first supergroup coming out of the Yardbirds. Like they really like put together all of these guys that have this phenomenal talent, and there are certain sections of each one of these records where like that is allowed to like be on full vision. You know what I mean? Like there's parts where like, parts. I've been at the bar for a few hours. There are parts where like Jimmy Page like makes the greatest guitar licks of all time, or like you hear fucking Robert Plant like wail on some shit. John Paul Jones throughout the entirety of both of these albums lays it down. And so it is a pretty hard decision between 1 and 4. Personally, I'm a Led Zeppelin 2 guy. But we will talk about 1 and 4 this evening. But yeah, no, this is gonna be a lot of fun. This is a phenomenal pick by you, Blake. Honestly, maybe one of your best selections ever. I might have to agree. I have to say that like Blake really nailed this kind of off the wall, dive in. So yeah. Jordan, I'm curious to, as a guest of the pod and as someone who has better taste than either one of these guys, I'm curious to hear how you feel.
Well, I mean, obviously both albums are fantastic, and I mean their discography all the way up to, I think after Bonham died in 80, I mean, everything is just fantastic. So can't really be upset with anything from Led Zeppelin. I actually don't even think anything from 1 through 4 are their best albums, but we can get there if we want to. But if we're starting with 1, then it's I mean, this you listen to this music, it came out in 1969. That is insane to think about. That is insane to think about. And not like, I mean, they did 1 through 4 in like a 3-year span. Right. So like, yes, they're not the Beatles, but can you say that they accomplished as much in that amount of time as the Beatles did from Revolver to, Let It Be or even Abbey Road? Like they accomplished a lot in a little amount of time. It's really impressive to listen to. The only gripe that I have with Led Zeppelin that I'll get into is like nothing is really a concept. It just feels like everything is a greatest hits album, which isn't a bad thing, I guess. It's not Pink Floyd, it's not Rush. You're not creating concepts. But every album, like Anthony said, he's like, wow, I know 8 of these songs off of like out of 9 of these. Like they know how to make hits for sure. And
very true.
It's an absolute supergroup. Awesome to listen to. This is going to be fun.
Fuck yeah. I will tell you guys, so Jordan probably already knows this because I sent it to our group message, but the reason this came about was I've been doing a thing the past few weekends. I'm building a Get the Let Out playlist. So what that requires is me to listen to every single album in its entirety. And so what I've been doing is taking my new Bose headphones, Bose, thank you for those, and going outside and smoking 1 cigar per Led Zeppelin album. So I just sit in the dark at night and smoke a cigar and listen to a Led Zeppelin album. So as I was going down this journey, really the crux of it was everybody knows Led Zeppelin 4. Everybody talks about Led Zeppelin 4, and it's widely regarded as one of the greatest rock albums ever. But listening to Led Zeppelin 1, wait, did I say 1 there or 4? I meant 4. If I said 1,
originally.
Yeah, you said 4.
Yeah, okay. Well, when I listened to Led Zeppelin 1 in its entirety, I just was taken aback by how fucking good this album is. And I don't think I really sat and listened to it in that context before, and it just blew me away. And I think they're both phenomenal albums, and so that's kind of why I wanted to bring them on and see kind of where you guys landed on these and talk about some of these tracks. So I'm obviously really, really excited for it. So with that being said, let's kick it off. Anthony, what do you got for your top song, and throw in some honorable mentions if you want?
All right, so I was pretty. I had not known the fact that that you said that this album was made not long after that original the Yardbirds group disbanded, which I find pretty amazing because there's a lot of folkness to a lot of Led Zeppelin's music that I find really interesting, and for them to come together so quickly, I mean, it translates a lot via studio work. But on that note, I'm going to go stereotypical and say my favorite track on this album, Dazed and Confused.
I knew it.
I mean, it is very spatial, very heavy, very downbeat, wailing. I mean, Robert Plant's voice is beyond unique, right? But like, I mean, I think it translates so well in that song. But I mean, you can go down the list and just start naming them off. But Dazed and Confused, I don't know off the top of my head. Is it the longest song on this album? Y'all know?
It is barely. So there's 2 tracks ahead of it. Babe, I'm gonna leave you, and then How Many More Times?
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
So it's a long one. Either way, definitely rings true to me and makes me feel a lot of emotions. So that's going to be my top track, and I'll throw 2 honorable mentions. Black Mountain Side is such a just acoustic, just kind of transitional song that I think just it just breathes so well, and the way the guitar's being played is just phenomenal. And Your Time Is Gonna Come. That one I really like. That's a song that I love to just sing along with. You know, of course, Dazed and Confused, but like I'm gonna let Robert Plant hit his notes. But Your Time Is Gonna Come feels very like we're all singing this thing together. So those 2 for me have to get honorable mentions. But like I said, this album has at least 8 honorable mentions in my mind. So
Sure.
yeah.
Trey, what do you got?
We're doing Zeppelin 1 first, right?
Yes.
So, dude, honestly, like, fuck, it's a really hard decision. I'm gonna go with my number 1, like my pick from this record is Your Time Is Gonna Come.
Yeah.
And the reason that I picked that is because like on re-listen to this record, this was something like that stood out to me more than it had like prior. And the lyrics from it are just absolutely phenomenal. Like it's a little bit of like a get back at your woman type of track, like people talking all around, watch out woman, no longer is the joke gonna be on my heart. You've been bad to me, woman, but it's gonna come back home to you. Your time is gonna come. And then about 3.5 minutes or so, Jimmy Page just shreds a solo that kind of feels like it comes out of nowhere. And like Bonham's like the percussion on that record is like kind of all over the place, right? Like it's like jazzy at first, and then it goes in this like hard rock thing, which is like a thing that Zeppelin in a way invented. Like they invented this like fusion of this like old like 50s jazz music with this like new wave of like 70s hard rock. So that's definitely my number 1. That song is phenomenal. Dazed and Confused, obviously like a fucking track. Iconic in a lot of ways. The way that I feel like, and I don't know this for certain, so feel free to fact check me, but in the same way that the Beatles use like 8 tracks, like run back through and would like reverse tracks through, I feel like they did that with this same song where they like had this like background like influence of like recording where they like would play the song back through. I don't know if that's like an actual fact, but around like 2.5 minutes or so, you can kind of hear this weird ass like background noise that doesn't really make a lot of sense. And I feel like that is like them like running that shit through the studio and like doing like some new recording techniques, which we've talked about on the pod before. Like, the 60s and 70s was all about inventing new ways to record music. So yeah, Dazed and Confused, honorable mention. Babe, I'm Gonna Leave You is like a Robert Plant staple where he hits these like high notes that no man who was born as a man should ever be able to hit.
Especially not at that time. Nobody was singing like that, dude.
Yeah, exactly. And Blake, I don't know if you remember this, like we saw Robert Plant at Bonnaroo one year.
We saw him at Okeechobee too, or I
Yeah,
saw
we
him at
did.
Okeechobee as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah, I remember the Bonnaroo set. I don't remember about
Yeah.
Okeechobee. I don't remember much about Okeechobee. But I remember like seeing him at Bonnaroo and being like, this dude who is at that point probably 70, 75 can still nail these notes.
Yeah,
You know,
it
it
was
wasn't all
crazy.
good, but there were like moments where like he would like hit these like crazy ass like tenor notes. So yeah, those are my kind of my honorable mentions, but definitely Your Time Is Gonna Come really stood out as a track that, you know, I'd never enjoyed before, but really enjoyed on the re-listen.
Fuck yeah. Very nice. Jordan, what do you got?
Yeah, I'll try to be quick. So we'll just do a top one, I guess, a couple honorable mentions, but Babe, I'm Gonna Leave You is my favorite on this album. It's actually, I remember hearing like back in high school, I got really obsessed with finger style guitar. And it's actually the guitar part for me that really stands out. I remember just like diddling around like on the guitar, and like my friend heard me playing it and he's like, "What is that?" I'm like, "Oh, it's Led Zeppelin." And he's like, "Dude, you gotta teach me that. It's so cool." And I'm like, "I mean, it's really simple, but it's yeah, it does sound awesome." Like, and that song just like, yeah, Plant stands out, but like, I mean, obviously Jimmy Page with his guitar work and all of these songs, but we haven't mentioned John Bonham yet, who is probably the most influential, if not the most influential drummer to, you know,
Facts.
shoot everyone up into the late 70s through 80s, 90s, and even today. Good Times, Bad Times. That drum intro is so sick with the cowbell.
So iconic,
with
dude,
the cowbell like in there, dude. And I remember watching this hilarious video. There's this guy who wears like a horse mask on his face and plays like buckets and stuff like in his bathtub, and I heard him play that drum intro just like on these buckets, and I'm like, dude, I forgot how good that drum intro was.
Right.
Like just from hearing that, and then like you hear it now, it's just fantastic. And then the Black Mountain side, that guitar part is the same thing as, it's a semitone down, just like Kashmir is, which is on a completely different album, but it's in a DAD GAD tuning on like a 12-string guitar, and it just sounds. No one was doing that at the time. Like, and Jimmy Page was just so experimental, and it made everything sound so kind of like medieval and interesting, and and a lot of the mandolins come in with John Paul Jones, but like. That guitar part is sick. So that's the quick rundown of at least my three. So
fuck yeah, very fair.
I think like Led Zeppelin to me is like if you were to take. I never played this game growing up. I kind of wish I did, but it just never came across my plate. But like if you were to take Dungeons and Dragons and like put it into band format, then this is what you're gonna get. This kind of
I mean, if you listen to a lot of the lyrics, he's quoting a lot of Tolkien.
Is that what it is? Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
I've never read Tolkien, but it does make total sense, right? It has that feel, that really folky, out on the mountainside, just living in the hillside, really kind of feel to it.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, for sure.
That's it.
So for me, number one song, I'm right in line with Jordan. Babe, I'm Gonna Leave You. This song is just, man, there's so many. It's like such a journey, right? It starts off so slow and melodic, and Plant is almost like just toned down and so much calmer than I'm used to hearing him. But then it picks up, 2 minutes in, the guitar picks up a little bit, but then it really picks up, later on in the song, and Plant starts belting out these fucking classic Robert Plant vocals, and like, God, man, if I could, like, it's so hard. We'll talk about another song in Led Zeppelin 4, but if I were to pick one song to show somebody that had never heard Led Zeppelin, it's either Babe, I'm Gonna Leave You, or a different song we'll talk about later. And before I really went into Led Zeppelin 1, I used to listen to this song specifically over and over and over. I would drive to work and just restart it. Like, I would just play it again and again and again, and I never ever got tired of it. So I don't want to take up too much time, because that was like, really, that to me is just one of I'm tearing up a little bit talking about it. I love this song so much. Like, I can't even put it into words properly. But yeah, I also love How Many More Times. How Many More Times is a chaotic song, man. But we talk about this a lot. Heavy shit. You know how I feel about heavy shit. It's upbeat. It's heavier. And yeah, it's just a vibe for me. And then Dazed and Confused, Good Times, Bad Times. Just so many fucking bangers on this album. So yeah, that's what I had. Let's rattle right into bottom tracks. Anthony, what do you got?
Well, Blake,
bottom tracks or a bottom track?
A bottom track, yes. Before I reveal that, do you think there's any human in the world out there that's never heard Led Zeppelin music before? Because
I'm sure there's some.
Literally,
100%.
From the invention,
100%.
from the invention of the FM radio to now, I don't think you can find a 30-minute block of classic rock without playing one Led Zeppelin song.
It's
true. Which
true.
like has done me personally a disservice to Led Zeppelin music, because like I love the music that they've made, right? I mean, and it should be at least mentioned, that they were influenced by a lot of musicians to make the songs that they've made, I mean, there's people can look up, writing credits and controversies and legal issues and all that stuff. But either way, I think the final product is still what it is, which is master musicians, master craftsmen, master showmans, right? Putting something out. But I do like just inevitably have a response when I hear some of the intro songs, more on Led Zeppelin 4 than 1, where I'm like, I can remember changing the radio because I heard it already. I just heard it, Yeah. But either way, as far as
there are people that live off the coast of Thailand, like literally have to dive 14 feet to eat food. So yeah, they're definitely human beings that have never listened to Led Zeppelin.
Maybe I should clarify.
Yeah, like,
access. Yeah,
a lot of the TikTokers, a lot of the Zoomers.
Yeah,
I would say, if it's not Shabuzi playing in the background.
Gotta love some Shabuzi.
Had to hit you with that one, Blake. Sorry.
I do have to say, before I go on, Babe, I'm going to Leave You was originally written by folk singer Ann Brendan and recorded by Joan Baez, of whom both guitarist Jimmy Page and vocalist Robert Plant were fans. At first, the band didn't know the song's origin, crediting it as a traditional song until 1990. So that's a little fun fact for you about Babe.
Well, I think that happened with a few of their songs, especially
yeah.
on this first album. This first album, especially, they got a lot of flack for lifting some songs from people and had to give writing credits to some of those folks.
Right. And like and on that, music art in general is a constant collaboration, whether people want to admit it or not. Like inevitably a director's influenced by a movie they saw as a kid, or musicians are influenced by music they're here, because you can't unhear that, right? But the only problem with me is just the credits issue. But either way, things are coming out to light. So the facts are there now, which I think is super important. But again, it doesn't take away from me personally the music itself, because this is what they did with that influence, Yeah. But as far as bottom tracks for me, I just got one, and Blake, it is one that you mentioned, How Many More Times? Only because I wish it would just end on I Can't Quit You Baby. Just the blues in that song.
Yeah,
but, How Many More Times seems like just a ratchet kind of way to end it, like upbeat, really, really heavy, you said. But yeah, that's all I have for bottom tracks on this one.
Nice. Trey?
I'm going to go the Anthony route, and I don't really have a bottom track for this record. It's
right.
short. It's to the point. What is it, like 45 minutes? And it was like something that people had never heard before. So yeah, for Zeppelin 1, no bottom tracks.
Nice. Jordan?
Yeah, I don't have any. It's just my only complaint about Led Zeppelin in general is doesn't seem like there's any sort of concept in general, at least for the entire album. Song-wise, yeah, there's concepts, but there's not a lot of flow for each album, so that would be my only gripe, really. But there's not a bad song on this album.
Fuck yeah. Yeah, hard agree. Like I got nothing. No complaints.
In Trey's words, y'all all pulled an Anthony except for Anthony. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah, because you did say one.
Yeah, I did. Hey, I feel it. Good deal.
All right, cool. Any final thoughts on Led Zeppelin 1 before we go to Led Zeppelin 4?
I feel like we should just hold
except
off
for maybe for future discussion and text messages, but like as a debut album, how many bands can surpass Led Zeppelin 1.
Yeah, that's
Not many.
very, very tough. Also,
Not
what did
many.
you say?
Just Cage the Elephant, and that's it.
Yeah, true. What did you say, Trey? You think we should what before we go on?
No, just like hold off on full opinions until we're done with 4.
Yeah, that's fair. All right, so Led Zeppelin 4. I'm going to give an intro, even though I feel like if you don't know this album at this point, I don't know where you've been or what you've been doing. So years after Led Zeppelin 4 became one of the most famous albums in the history of rock music, Robert Plant was driving towards the Oregon coast and the radio caught his ear. The music was fantastic, old spectral doo-wop, nothing he'd heard before. When the DJ came back on, he started plugging the station's seasonal fundraiser, support local radio, he said. We promise we'll never play Stairway to Heaven. Plant pulled over and called in with a sizable donation. It wasn't that he didn't like the song, he said later. He just heard it plenty times before. So, yeah, that's kind of right along the vein that Anthony was talking about. So, Anthony, give us a rundown. You said you've heard plenty of these songs before. Had you ever listened to it front to back before? Or was this your first time?
Yeah, it was probably like 10. Yeah, after graduating college, I remember I was going on walks with my dogs regularly, and I was like, for each dog, I'm going to listen to a full Led Zeppelin album. So that's what I did with the 4 of them back then. So, yep. So I've given it a run through before, and was glad to do it again to bring it out here.
Very nice. Trey?
Mm-hmm.
Were those dogs black dogs by chance?
I don't know if I had a black dog at that time. But shout out to all the black dogs out there. They get looked over apparently in shelters, and it never was a thing that I purposely recognized, but apparently that's a thing. But shout out. I got 2 black dogs over here right now, so we're good.
I got
Nice.
one really big black dog. I love it. I've listened to Zeppelin 4. I actually have Zeppelin 4 on vinyl and have listened to Zeppelin 4 many, many times. It's a great album. Sounds good as Zeppelin 2. I'm going to throw that out there again. But no, dude, it was great to go through. I was driving around, listen to it a handful of times over the last couple of weeks or last week or so. Yeah, fantastic. Excited to get into it more.
Fuck yeah. Jordan?
Yeah, another album I'm extremely familiar with. My buddy had it on vinyl in college, and I think my mom got my dad the 1 through 4 set for his birthday in the early 90s, so I always had those CDs lying around to listen to, and Led Zeppelin 4 is just, I don't know if it's my favorite. We'll get into that, but it is interesting though. If you do look, the first 1 through 3, it is labeled with Led Zeppelin, and apparently they had a little bit of a quarrel with the record company. And if you look at the album cover, it does not say Led Zeppelin on it, does it? Not at all.
No, it does not.
This album is meant to have the music speak for itself, and I think it really does. So
wait, hold on, pause really quick. Jordan, is your favorite Zeppelin album Physical Graffiti?
Houses of the Holy? Yeah,
okay.
yeah. I had an idea.
Anthony sniped that.
Yeah,
damn.
Although Physical for Graffiti is great, but
Right.
Houses of the Holy, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, go ahead, Blake.
Yeah, so I mean, this is, I don't know, what do you guys think? This has got to be top 3 most famous rock albums of all time, right? You got to put, there's got to be a Beatles album up there.
I don't know if it'd be top 3.
You don't think so?
5 to
Dark
10.
Side of the Moon.
Yeah.
Exile on Main Street.
Jimi Hendrix.
Back in Black.
True.
I don't know.
I mean, if we're talking about album sales, then yeah, Back in Black is number 2 or 3 in terms of album sales. So
well, let's keep it to good albums.
Okay, no butt rock.
Yeah,
Hey, come on, man. Well, the point is,
it's very known. For
yeah,
sure.
it's one of the
top 5.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
top
one of
3
the
is a
most
stretch.
famous.
But
It's one of the most famous of all time, and obviously I've listened to it, I don't know, a fucking million times. But it is interesting. I feel like, every few years I listen to this album, and there's a new song that I fall in love with more than I had before. So there's a lot of these songs that have grown on me in various ways. I do think. I would be interested to hear y'all's take on this, but I think there's a stark difference in musical style between Led Zeppelin 4 and Led Zeppelin 1. They sound very different to me. Both have their their highlights and their shining moments, but that's kind of also a reason why I picked this. Was, to me, there's a stark difference, whereas like 1 and 2 are very similar musically to me, and 3 is kind of, I don't know, 3 is the bastard child of the Led Zeppelin albums, but not in a bad way. Not in a bad way. It's just,
Great album
you know,
cover though. for
yeah,
sure.
great fucking album cover.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm excited to get into it. Anthony, lead us off. What do you got?
I'm just laughing because you mentioned the album cover, because I accidentally posted Led Zeppelin 3 when I should have done 4 yesterday, but both
I know,
equally.
I'm the one who told Blake that.
Thank you for that, Jordan. I appreciate it. Okay, so easy answer is Stairway to Heaven. I think Stairway to Heaven is one of the greatest songs ever put together, whether they ripped off someone or not. For what it is, it's pretty amazing. But I am going to choose When the Levee Breaks. Crazy way to close out this album. I love this downbeat that's happening. The harmonicas, I mean, the sounds that are happening is very wild. There's a Perfect Circle cover of When the Levee Breaks that I almost did for Ride or Die for, but either way, that song is powerful as shit. So When the Levee Breaks is my number one. Shout out Going to California. You know, Going to California
so
is like if you took Black Mountain's side and like push it into Led Zeppelin 4, you're getting those types of tracks that are just so mountainside, so just they're rural tracks. I guess that's the best way I could put it. But so that's my little spiel.
Oh, real quick, have you guys seen Argo?
Like
the movie Argo
with
like
Ben
the
Affleck?
movie?
Yes.
Yeah.
So there's a scene in that movie that uses When the Levee Breaks so perfectly. It's the perfect, and I don't want to spoil anything. If you haven't seen it, go watch it. But that song makes an appearance in that movie, and it's used just beautifully. All right, well, Trey is not connected, or I don't know what he's doing. So let's go to Jordan. Jordan, what do you got?
Top track is When the Levee Breaks, and it's not even really close. So you were talking about how it sounds different, Blake. I think this album really, it's just they have just matured as a group, and they're writing hits. I mean, there are so many hits on this freaking album. It's insane. It's literally insane. Not to mention their biggest hit of all time, Stairway to Heaven, which is somehow their biggest hit, but is also like a really long 8-minute epic.
Right.
Like, it's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
But When the Levee Breaks, just with the reverb and the ghost notes on that drum part that starts the song, it just kicks you off like in that mood. Fantastic. And then Going to California, number 2. You mentioned how it sounds a lot like Black Mountainside. That's because it's also tuned to a semitone down. That's why. Fantastic guitar part. And I remember me and my buddies in college saved up a bunch of money working through the summer to go travel across the country. And we were heading to California, and the first song that my buddy put on was this song as we were leaving Auburn, Alabama. And it was just like,
War Eagle.
You got a long way to go, but yeah.
Yeah, but no, that was the one. And then I love, you were talking about how a lot of like the rag music kind of makes their way into this. Misty Mountain Hop. Fantastic song. Almost has like a little funk groove to it, but like it's almost that ragtime kind of feel. Fantastic stuff. And I will honorable mention Rock and Roll, even though it's so famous. One of the, if not the most famous drum intros of all time. And also misplayed by basically every drummer because it's difficult. It's that difficult. So.
Very nice. Trey, we're coming back to you. What do you got?
Oh, thank you so much for coming back to me, Blake.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna do my honorable mentions first. First off, out of the 8 tracks on this record, 6 of them are incredibly well known by any given person that's ever listened to music, right? Everything except for Misty Mountain Hop and 4 Sticks, like someone's gonna know that track. So I'm gonna tell a quick story about Black Dog. So this one time, a very good friend of mine was a little too spun out on a certain chemical, and they like kind of needed like a little bit of grounding, and I like sang to them the first opening lines of this track.
It was caffeine, right?
It was caffeine. Yeah, they were on way too much caffeine, you know. And so like I remember specifically that evening, like leaning into their ear and being like, Hey, mama said the way you move, gonna make you sweat, gonna make you groove. And it like brought that person like back down to like reality. And that's like how, you know, like monumental this track is. It's like just encroached in every single person's brain.
Yeah.
So I want to give a shout out to Black Dog for that. And for the person, if they listen to this, great. If not, you know, whatever. But my number one track off this is Going to California. The lyrics behind Going to California are absolutely phenomenal, incredibly relatable. Like right now, specifically for me, you know, like I wonder how tomorrow could ever follow today. The mountains and the canyons start to tremble and shake. The children of the sun begin to awake. It seems that the wrath of the gods got a punch on the nose. Just fucking like just painting this beautiful picture of fighting against the currents of, you know, like nature and society and like the world and the universe or whatever. And I think that's what Led Zeppelin did in a lot of ways. Like they brought this hard rock to this scene that like had never really like felt this entire idea before. So like Going to California, while it is a very like soft, melodic, you know, like tune, in a lot of ways, like it's still kind of punk rock as fuck and kind of like a middle finger to the powers that be. So yeah, Going to California, definitely my number one on this record by and far.
Fuck yeah. Very nice. For me, man, When the Levee Breaks. Come on, dude. Let me tell you something. When the Levee Breaks, this song by itself is greater than the entire Beatles discography together.
Okay.
There is
There's
nothing
no reason for that.
There
There's
is
no reason for
nothing that the Beatles or Pink Floyd could ever create that sounds as good as When the Levee Breaks. This is the greatest rock song ever created, bar none. It's not even close. There isn't anything even in the same realm. There's When the Levee Breaks and all the other rock songs, okay? This song is fucking perfect. And I don't even want to get in to the rest of the album because it's going to take away from how good and how monumental When the Levee Breaks is. And you know what? You guys had some good honorable mentions there. I'm not going to fight you on them. You know, I don't disagree. But let me tell you something. I truly don't think there is a Led Zeppelin song in their entire discography that I love and I have listened to as much as When the Levee Breaks. And I'll never get tired of it. It'll be, I hope when I die, it's played at my funeral. God, if you guys don't go before me, please keep that in mind. That's all I had to say on When the Levee Breaks and Led Zeppelin 4.
So
all right.
That's it. Even though this is your idea, you're just going to talk about one song.
Yeah, literally.
I think you guys said everything that needs to be said, you know? Like, do we really need to, do we need to rehash Stairway to Heaven? You know, do we really need to? I think we all have our thoughts and opinions on Stairway to Heaven, as does everybody else in the world. But really, like, if we're picking one top song, which was the rule, I'm giving it to When the Levee Breaks. I don't want to bring that down by throwing in other songs that want to be as good as When the Levee Breaks.
I mean, 75% of us agree with you, so, I mean, we're not... It sounds like you're trying to argue with somebody.
I just like disagree with your approach. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's fair. All right, Anthony, what do you got for bottom tracks?
Okay, yeah, I'll let that points fade a little bit. But so bottom tracks for me, I do have one, so I will not be pulling a me. So the reason that I'm picking this song is to my point earlier with this radio airplay overload. You know, Jordan, you mentioned the drum intro on Rock and Roll, which is fucking powerful, and it is amazing. And I'm not doubting that, and so much respect for John Bonham and for the folks who tried to play it like he did. But every time that song came on the radio, I would change the channel. I just am not in the mood for that right now, and I wasn't in the mood for that 20 minutes ago when they played it either. So
1069.
Yeah, I mean, nonstop in your eardrums. I mean, thank God for iPods. Shout out, Steve Jobs, for the iPods from the day, because that took me out of that mainstream, and I could go and discover things. So my bottom track is Rock and Roll.
That's fair. Trey, what do you got?
Yeah,
Trey's like, When the Levee Breaks.
My bottom track is Blake's Opinions.
Yeah. Claps? Can we get claps?
Can we get some claps?
Blake's approach.
Yeah,
fuck you guys.
Just calm down a little bit.
Take that back. It's not his opinion.
Just calm down a little. That's all.
He finally nailed a pick for the week. I mean, really and truly, probably one of our best totally biased music picks ever. And then he has to be a dick about it.
I wasn't. Well, I'm
Threw
past
the Beatles under the bus.
Yeah, he threw the Beatles under the bus.
Pink
and,
Floyd under the bus.
The big question here, obviously, is the big three, right? It's the Beatles, Pink Floyd, and Led Zeppelin. And I think Led Zeppelin has a huge claim to that throne. I don't necessarily think they're number one, but I think they are definitely in that top three. And
AC/DC is like right on the edge too.
Yeah, and Creed is like fucking right.
And Creed's probably number 5.
Can you take me higher? Yeah, really no bottom tracks off this record. Stairway to Heaven obviously has been beat over our heads 1,000 times, but it's still good. It's a good song if you isolate it. So no bottom track.
That's fair. Jordan?
I don't have any bottom tracks. Just move on.
That's fair.
The bottom tracks are Russell Wilson.
Yeah, literally. The dangerous sandwich.
Yeah, I don't have any bottom tracks either. I mean, just fucking timeless album, and so many good songs. Okay, so now, gentlemen, it is time. So here's how we're gonna do this. Okay, first off, there's no rankings from major publications for Led Zeppelin 1, which is fucked.
Really?
Yeah, Led Zeppelin 4. The only thing I could find was Rolling Stone's top 500 greatest albums of all time. So everybody take a guess, starting with Anthony, where you think it lands on top 500 albums of all time.
11.
Trey?
This is for 4?
Yeah.
Bro, didn't you just do Revolver and Revolver was 11?
I could not remember.
Damn, dude,
it'd be a straight up guess.
Memory,
Jordan, if you got that, I'd be.
I'm pretty sure Revolver was 11, but
well, then I'll say 11 or 12.
I'm gonna say Zeppelin 4 is 23.
Jordan,
MJ.
I'll go 17 in between them.
It is 58.
Oh,
58,
okay.
Which seems ridiculous. So let's do this. You guys can give both of them a rating, and then you can tell us which one you like better, or you can do it vice versa. Tell us which one you like better, then give them both ratings. And go as long as spiel as you want to. Just take the floor, Anthony. You lead us off.
Actually, Blake, I think you should go first.
Okay, that's fair.
Okay, yeah. I got an idea in real time production, right? So after Blake does his thing, okay, give us a chance, Blake, to either give you a 1 or a 4 as our guess to what yours is, unless you're going to reveal it in the spiel.
I'm going to reveal it in the spiel.
Okay,
spiel. So you guys can guess now. You guys can guess now if you want to.
Oh, then I'm going to guess 4.
It's definitely 1.
I'm going to guess 1 as well.
All right, so here's the thing. Rating-wise, these are both 10 out of 10s. Let's be honest. They're as close to perfect albums as you can make with rock music, in my opinion, if not perfect. And look, man, I threw some digs out there earlier, and I partially meant them. But as a whole, I will tell you guys this. Led Zeppelin, to me, is the greatest rock band of all time. And to me, that is undeniable. And I will never change my opinion of that. And doing this Get the Let Out playlist that I've been doing, and getting the chance to listen to them and listen to these albums in depth in my own space, my own moment, it just has reiterated how good of a band this is. And I don't know if you guys know this, but the name Led Zeppelin comes from Keith Moon saying that Jimmy Page and I think it was Jeff Beck, them making an album together would go over like a lead balloon. So I think that's hilarious, but they're just iconic, man. They got such an iconic sound, and they really I feel like we're the first band to bring hard rock music to the forefront. And obviously that's music that I love very much. So I'm biased in that fact, but this is totally biased music, and that's the way it fucking rolls,
Sponsored by Bose headphones.
And with that being said, I gotta give it to Led Zeppelin 1, man. I gotta give it to Led Zeppelin 1. It's just, I don't know what my favorite Led Zeppelin album is. I still have many more to go, so I still have a lot to digest. But as of right now, going 1 through 4, 1 is the best to me, and it's my favorite, which sucks because with Jay-Z, Reasonable Doubt is arguably his best album, which is his first one. And I hate when artists' first albums are their universal, their best one, because then it makes it seem like the rest of them aren't good. But that's not the case. It's just a 10 and then a 9.999 repeating for Led Zeppelin 4. So that's what I got. Anthony, what about you?
All right, so y'all want to guess at which one I'm picking?
I'm gonna guess 1 for Anthony.
I'm gonna guess 4 for Anthony.
4.
All right, so I, along with Blake, do share the opinion of coming out the gate with a banger of an album like Led Zeppelin 1 has me picking that one over 4. I gave 1 at 9.5 out of 10, 9 out of 10 for Led Zeppelin 4. But yeah, I don't have many gripes. Like I said, I could only imagine what my opinion of Led Zeppelin would be had I not heard them so regularly without choice. Right. I can't. I have such a gripe with FM
Sure
radio.
will.
If y'all can't tell, yeah, exactly. Let me pick the songs. Let me go into that world when I want to, because I do think Led Zeppelin's music can be considered its own like realm of time or of space and of sounds, because they do conjure up feelings, and I love the narratives that they go throughout in Led Zeppelin 4 with some of their songs. But no, I got to give it to Led Zeppelin 1.
Fuck yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Trey?
Third. Y'all want to do the same guess thing situation?
I'm going to guess 1.
I'm guessing 4. Me and Jordan got 4.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with 4. I think the production behind 4 is like so much cleaner. Bonham's drums are just absolutely gnarly on like Black Dog and Rock and Roll, and When the Levee Breaks. I think Bonham really like shines through this record, and like there's certain like situations where they like almost pass it off in a similar way to Fish, where like there's like different solos that get taken where everyone else like takes a back seat. And it's like far as like front to back, yeah, I think 4 is definitely the move. Now I will say that I think Led Zeppelin 2 is their best record.
Is that your favorite one?
Yeah, absolutely, by and far.
Okay.
I think Zeppelin 2 is fucking unreal, especially following up like such a banger of that like opening album. But yeah, no, 4 is gonna be my pick out of these two. I think they are both like 9 out of 10 albums. So yeah, 4. Jordan,
Fuck
you're
yeah.
up.
I'm guessing 4 for Jordan.
I'm going to guess 4 also.
I'm gonna guess 4 as well.
Wow. Crazy yes, guys. I do want to play a little devil's advocate though with
Like
Anthony's.
the devil's advocate opinion coming through.
Yeah, well, mostly Anthony's gripe with FM radio. I do think Birmingham's FM radio selection kind of sucked. But there is a radio station in Pittsburgh specifically called WDVE, and they would play deep cuts off of like Rush albums and like Van Halen albums and Led Zeppelin albums and stuff like that. So I think there is, if you have the right DJs and the right audience, it can be used correctly. But I understand what you're saying.
Yeah, no, I would agree with that wholeheartedly, because I think that is like a beautiful tool that was, at least in my world, completely underutilized, right? I mean, you can play the stuff that's going to keep people listening, but using music as a tool of exposure, using radio as a tool of exposure to people, that is like my whole life's MO when it comes to music, is being able to play something out loud for someone to go, hey, what is this? And then dive deeper into the realm, So like
learning music from FM radio rather than just
being like, fuck this,
God, the amount of times, I'm sorry, Trey, we love the Beatles, but the amount of times I heard Paul McCartney's Live and Let Die off 106.9.
Yeah.
Dude, it was
exactly.
on nonstop.
Very fair, honestly.
Nonstop. But yeah, Led Zeppelin 4. For me, mostly it's the maturity of the band. They are starting to mature, even though they were already mature coming into Led Zeppelin 1, just because of the experience they had in famous bands already, like the Yardbirds. And I believe I think Keith Moon and Jeff Beck both auditioned for Led Zeppelin. So it's funny to hear Keith Moon giving shit to Led Zeppelin, but whatever. I mean, the Who did pretty well, so
yeah.
But I think as a opening album for a band, Led Zeppelin 1 is hard to really root against for anyone, but I think they really did mature enough to where Led Zeppelin 4 is where they're writing hit after hit after hit after hit. Like, it's insane. So I'm gonna go Led Zeppelin 4.
Fuck yeah. Very nice, gentlemen. Well, This was a blast, and I'm very interested. We're split down the middle, 1 and 1
Yeah.
and 4 and 4. So we should have brought a fifth to be the deciding factor about which one was better. But
Jordan, you know your dad's favorite Led Zeppelin album?
Led Zeppelin
it-
4.
There's your tiebreaker, Blake.
same with my dad as well too.
Double.
But yeah, that was a blast, guys. It was great to listen to this, and we got to do more Led Zeppelin in the future. So
Once again, got to give props off to Blake for this great pick.
thank you.
Creative,
I appreciate
smart.
it.
Really solid.
Very admirable, Trey. After that sham job Blake did on some of our heart bands, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Take the high road.
All right. Well, with that being said, that was Led Zeppelin 1 and 4. If you haven't listened to it, what the fuck are you doing with your life? Go listen to both of them right now.
Be a goddamn adult. Listen to fucking Zeppelin.
Be an adult. All right, let's get into Rides or Dies. Anthony, you can start us off. What do you? Anthony had a very interesting pick. I'm so excited to hear about this.
Okay, so this y'all are not gonna believe this shit. But all right, so scary movie. There's a scary movie out in theaters right now. People might call it scary. It's called Terrifier 3. I had not seen any of the Terrifier films before 4 days ago. So I watched Terrifier 1, which is fucking super raw, crazy ride of a movie. Next night, watched Terrifier 2, another deeper into the lure of Art the Clown and the Terrifier kind of franchise. So naturally, I was like, I'm so excited to go see 3. So I saw 3 in theaters yesterday. And this song is called Chrissy by this artist that goes by Dream Kid. This was the closing credits track of Terrifier 3. And like was such a fun like way to end that movie experience that I was like, dude, I'm going to bring this to the podcast because the song fucking slams. It's a synthwave kind of vibe, but heavy guitar riffs throughout. So yeah, what'd you think, Jordan? What'd you think?
Well, I only want to interrupt because have you seen the internet kind of like, it's not really a meme, but it's like for the promotion for Terrifier 3 where if you call the number, you can call there's a specific phone number and it will like promote the movie and then it'll Venmo you 1 cent as in Pennywise, like the clown.
Wild.
Nice.
Yeah, I saw that earlier and I've seen the first 2. They're great. I haven't seen the third one.
Basically a Christmas movie, but it's really good.
Oh yeah, but no, the song is fantastic. I mean, I vibe so hard with some sort of any 80s synth. What I've written down here, really all I have is written down is I love this and it's fantastic. And Blake is not allowed to like it because the last time I was on the podcast, I brought an 80s song and he said all 80s songs sound the same.
No, but Jordan, you know this. You know that I have a playlist called Cruising 88 with specific only synthwave 80s synthwave music.
Synth. This is 80s synth.
And you love that playlist, as do I. So
okay, well, then you need to retract your last statement about hating all 80s songs. So
well, I will say
by the way.
I will say hard rides. And I think we may have sent this to Anthony before, but I have a playlist of songs exclusively like this. And I listen to it a lot, especially when I'm riding the motorcycle home at night. It's like the perfect music to listen to riding on the highway at night. So I will send that to you guys if you want it. But hard fucking rides, man. I was like, this was so off the wall for Anthony. I was like, where did this fucking come from, man? Like right. I didn't, and I will say, so the cover art thing in Spotify, there's a program I used to use. This was like during COVID. I used to make 3D art in Blender and it would take me forever, but I would just put on music like this and just get lost in it. And it was stuff that's kind of like the cover art for this, like the cell phone and shit like that. I made like a little old school 80s video game room, but like it was a lot of fun. So yeah, it just took me back to like a nostalgia spot and I just like this. So Trey, what'd you think?
Yeah, I'm sorry, Anthony. I hate to do it to you, but like this dies for me for the same reason that rides for y'all. I don't like 80s synthwave. Like this is like not my vibe at all. You know, like all respect because I love you as a person, but you know, this is just like not my cup of tea. It's not quite my tempo.
That's
Trey,
okay.
how come when you give Anthony a dies, it's like, oh, my sweet baby, I'm so sorry I have to do this to you, my precious little Anthony, I will never do this again. Then when you give me a dies, you're like, shit fucking sucks, you suck, this dies. Why? What's the difference there?
Because I like him more than you, and you know
Like
that.
the difference should be obvious.
Yeah,
This is
the difference is
bullshit.
obvious.
I welcomed you back after you bailed on us, Trey, and this is how I'm treated. Unbelievable.
Listen,
Trey,
man, I really I stretched to get Wi-Fi for this. I was at a bar. I'm honestly, I'll be for our listeners. I'm pretty drunk right now. But
That
you know,
that
like,
could be a reason why this.
no, I listened
song
to it
doesn't-
I listened to it sober. Yeah, it was not great. I'm sorry, but I
Try.
love you.
all right, Trey,
Like-
what's your rides or dies?
I don't really remember. It was a
Oh, it's
smile
the
track.
smile.
It's
Eyes and mouth. Yeah.
Eyes and Mouth by Smile. I did it exclusively to like impress Jordan, I'll be honest. This song off the newest Smile record, which I would like to review at some point. This song specifically is like this super like jazzy number where Johnny Greenwood just shreds a guitar over the top of these like Tom Skinner beats. And yeah, no, I curious to see what you guys think about it. Blake, I would like for you to forget the last like minute and a half and give an honest opinion. So
Let
Blake,
me
you go
say
first.
something. I thought it was a great song. I think Tom York is great. I think the smile is very cool as a concept. I know Jordan's a big fan. He's played some other stuff for me before. So with that being said, it dies because
Damn.
and the only reason it dies is because this
you
is
hate me.
exclusively to Dick Ride Jordan, and you prefaced it with that. Had you said had you just sent it, I would have been like, huh, that was pretty niche, cool pick. But you told us I need to impress Jordan, which pissed me off. So this shit dies.
Jordan, that's the amount of respect I have for you. So we appreciate you as a guest on this podcast.
We love it, dude. I'm all
Yeah.
here for it.
Yep. So you're
Jordan,
next.
what'd you think? It'd be really
I'm
funny
with-
if Jordan's like, yeah, this song dies.
Sucks.
So what the
Not
hell do
gonna
you
happen.
think, man?
Not
I
gonna
saw-
happen.
I don't know if I mentioned it, but I saw the Smile at Mission Ballroom a couple year and a half ago, maybe.
Fire.
It was unreal. I mean, I didn't really know what to expect, but Tom York's like stage presence is just, and then like Johnny Greenwood's kind of just doing his own thing, and it's like because he's doing a lot of stuff at one time. But what I wrote down was obviously it rides. Johnny is doing a lot of work in this song, so much work in this song, looping and so many delay pedals, and he's moving the entire time. But I think Tom Skinner, he deserves more credit. He keeps up big time with these guys, and these are two massive musicians, and they brought in Tom Skinner, and he is just fit in so perfectly. The only other thing, I mean, obviously I've heard this song. I mean, the album just came out, but I've been listening to it. The piano chords towards the end sound very James Bondy, almost to like when Radiohead wrote the Spectre song.
Fire.
And personally, I love that. I love the James Bond chords. So it sounds very British and fantastic, and it rides all day.
Nice.
Hell
Yeah.
Jordan, intro your track. Another
Wait,
interesting
hold on.
pick.
Anthony has to do
Anthony needs to
Oh
do-
shit!
I mean,
my bad. Oh, my bad.
bad host.
Easy now. We'll wait till
We've
we
been
get to
going
Blake's.
in
Wait till we get to
disorder.
Blake's ROD. But anyway,
He's used to
Yeah.
3 people, so give him a break.
Okay. Yeah. Well, this song definitely rides. I've strategically refrained from bringing any Smile to the Rise or Dies because I too want to do an album. So I was glad to hear Blake's opinion. Not glad to hear his final decision, but it'll do for now. But yeah, definitely rides. Shout out Smile all day, every day.
Fuck yeah,
Mhm.
Jordan.
All right, so I've got a song by Idols. This band popped up on me out of nowhere probably 2 years ago. Their previous album before this most recent album that just dropped in February, I believe it's called Crawler or something like that. But the first album I heard by them, it was In the Basement. And totally YouTube algorithm just got me, and I just was like, these guys look cool, and I watched it and I was like, this is awesome. And that album specifically is super punk rock, like really punk rock and very British punk rock. And then this new album came out, and slightly maybe because I want to impress Trey, this was actually produced by the sixth member of Radiohead, Nigel Godrich. As you may, George Martin was the fifth member of the Beatles, but the sixth member of Radiohead is Nigel Godrich, and has been producing Radiohead albums since 1995, I think, since the Bends. And this is his first production on an Idols album. And when I heard it, I was like, this sounds so much like Radiohead. It's actually insane. And then there are other songs on this album that sound more like that. This is probably their top song, but I wanted to bring this because I think Idols are one of the most interesting bands that I've listened to within the last couple of years. They're freaking awesome, and the fact that they collab with LCD Sound System on this song too, super sick, super heavy bass. The music video is hilarious. They're dressed up like the Bee Gees and just like dancing around to this song. Like, it's awesome. I love it so much, and I love this band.
I'll start us off. I was very confused with this song. Like I felt like it jerked me in a lot of different directions. And also, like, I've never really listened to LCD Sound System. I remember, like, there was a year or two where they were on, like, a heavy festival circuit. Trey, I don't know if you remember that. And, like,
I would not base this song and just say LCD Sound System. It's just a collab. This is all Idols and Nigel Godrich.
Interesting, because I never, like, I know I've seen them before, or at least I was at a festival they were at. I don't know if I went to the show. But yeah, I don't know. I listened to this song like 2 or 3 times, and I was like, "Do I like this?" Like, I can't really tell. Like, it's kind of
heavy, dude. Like, yeah, I think you'd like it. It's like almost punky, heavy.
Yeah, it's just like jarring in a weird way, and I don't know. It is cool. I will give it a ride, but it's not a hard ride. I got to think about it a little bit more. I will say that.
You should
soft rides.
Inspect the entire album. It's a really fun album
for sure. Anthony, what about you?
I had a similar experience where I feel like I've listened to this song out of context. I would like to listen to it within context of the album, but a standalone track, I wrote cool effects, but too erratic for me to just vibe with it on its own. But I will listen to this album in full to see if it changes. But for now, this one does die for me.
Wow.
Trey?
So I've listened to Idols before. I was super stoked that you brought this song to the pod. I had not listened to this new record. This song is much more LCD Sound System to me than it is Idols. Like, I feel like that, like, kind of almost like that, like, cutting, like, drum thing is very LCD Sound System. Obviously, it's a rides. Both these bands are really, really solid. So yeah, I appreciate you kind of bringing this up here. And I will the album's called Tank.
Mm-hmm.
Tank with a K.
Yeah.
Tank with a G.
Yeah. Tank. Well, yeah, you're right. Tank with
because the K is always there.
Yeah, I will. Yeah, that's true. But I will say, like, it sounds much more like an LCD Sound System track to me than it does.
There's one song off this
LCD
album called Pop Pop Pop. I'll send it to you, or you just listen to it. It sounds like it's straight off of Amnesiac.
Hell yeah!
Like it's so.
Love Amnesiac.
Definitely check it out.
Fuck yeah!
All right, Blake, what's your track?
All right, so we did F1 Trillion a few weeks back. We all rated it pretty highly. We all talked about how much we liked it. I don't know if this was on y'all's top tracks. I can't really remember because it was a while back. But Post did a studio session where he brought in some guests and did a number of songs from this album and some other albums. So it's just a different rendition of Go to Hell. And I really like it, man. I like it because, like, it's definitely a different sound, but just like Post in his environment is such a funny guy. Like, he just looks so happy all the time. And I love the moment where he's like, how does the second verse start? And someone's like, oh, and they read off the first lyrics. He's like, oh yeah. And just kind of goes into it. And I don't know. I just love the vibe of them sitting around together and making a new rendition of this song in the studio. And it was one of my top tracks then. And so it was nice to hear a different version of it now. So yeah, Anthony, what'd you think?
I mean, it's hard. It's hard for me to give this a ride because it's a good song, but like I was just curious as to why you brought it to as Rides or Die. But I watched the video and I liked the last like 3 seconds of the video where he's just like, that was fucking awesome, like Post Malone as a human. Like I said, I'm mad respect for him. Very personable, very homey feeling. His voice, though, that's the thing that kind of throws me off. He's actually playing right now, right like 10 minutes away from me. And I was gonna go see him tonight. I was gonna cancel my appearance on the podcast, but tickets were like $130.
Fuck.
Yeah, and I
Damn.
said, nay, Posty,
Make more money.
you're not that. Posty's not that big of a draw for me. I'll go outside after the podcast and hear the encore for sure.
Fuck yeah.
I'll let you know what it is, but it rides for me.
Trey?
I had a similar thing with Anthony. As I was just like, why did he bring this after like we just reviewed this record? I feel like it was a little bit of a cop out for you.
I don't think it was.
But you're typically a pretty bold fellow. But like honestly, like this song is fucking amazing. Like definitely, it's a hard rides for me. The lyrics give you all that shit you think you're needing and take it right back when she's leaving. She's a full mason jar full of white lightning. She can tell you go to hell and make you like it. Like fucking bars. And
So
you know what? I have not you had sent the videos of like this like live session or whatever earlier in the week, and I had not like dove into that. And after you sent this, I like did kind of like watch a bunch of them. So like on that level, I do respect that
that was why I did it. Yeah.
Okay. Well, if that was the purpose, then like no qualms.
Yeah, that's
And
why
I
I
love
did it.
you, and I think you're a very handsome man. I think your motorcycle's awesome. You
All
have
right.
a great jawline. All of your
Thanks.
tattoos,
Easy,
very good. Yeah.
easy.
So
Several, by the way.
honestly,
Several.
I was in Denver for about a week and a half. You know, one of my favorite parts of being in Denver was hanging out with Blake and his amazing partner Amanda. We had a great
It
time.
was a blast, man.
We really did have.
It was so much fun.
We drank
So
some
much-
really sugary alcohol drinks, which were probably a mistake, but
Yeah. Good
So
time.
for all of those reasons, the song rides.
Fuck yeah. All right. Jordan?
All right, I'll go quick since we have a movie to review as well. But
Yeah.
I as much as I wanted to hate this song, I actually did enjoy it.
Welcome to the club.
Yeah,
I'm
it happened to me too.
not someone who gravitates towards Post Malone, or at least today's pop music doesn't really appeal to me as much. And I did try listening to the album. Surprisingly, I never want to admit that to anybody, but I tried listening to it. I did not like it. But this session I enjoyed because it felt more raw and more real. I listened to the studio version, which is it's just so overproduced and just I don't know. I can't stand that sound of pop music where it's just so overproduced and auto-tuned. It sounds like a fucking Christmas song. Like someone just like wrote a song for Mariah Carey and it's auto-tuned to shit. But like the raw realness of his voice that is not for everybody, and that version you sent is pretty good and it's fun. And he's like, fuck him up at the end, and like, let's give real props to who you should give him props to is the band. That's who you should be giving props to because they're badass.
One gripe I did have was
good.
do you know the people who were playing with him, Blake? Because I didn't see credits in this. That was the one bummer too. I felt that.
And he's done another country thing where he played 2 country songs. This was years ago, and he played with a band, and I don't know who that band was either. It was like an event put on by Matthew McConaughey. It was weird. But yeah, I don't know. It may be his band that goes around with him. I'm not sure, to be completely honest.
They seem like a touring band because they fucking ride. But I'll give it a rides for the specific live session. Yeah.
Wow, I'm shocked, but I'm happy. I'll take it. Fuck yeah. All right, so this week we reviewed Disturbia, which was Trey's pick. God damn, what a classic. Trey, tell us why you picked Disturbia.
Here's the deal. When I used to go to my parents' lake spot a lot, like we didn't have really good internet. We had 2 DVDs. We had Zombieland and we had Disturbia. And you said specifically, you're like, for October, let's like try and pick some like scary whatever movies. I'm not a big scary movie guy, but I love Disturbia. I love Shia LaBeouf. I think that like this is one of his like early classics. I'll be honest with you guys, and you're not gonna like this. Anthony specifically is not gonna like this. I was gonna watch this movie today. Unfortunately, my Wi-Fi went out pretty much all day. I was not able to rewatch the movie, but I can close my eyes and remember any given scene from this fucking film because I watched it 1,000 times.
Yeah.
So like I love Disturbia. I'm curious to hear what you guys thought on rewatch. I'm sure you'd seen it before.
Anthony, had you seen it before?
Yeah. I saw this movie when it came out on DVD back in 2007, and I it's funny because I hadn't watched it since. I really loved it back then, and I really identified with the Shia character. I mean, we're the same age at that time, right? He's playing like a 17-year-old. I was like 16. So like seeing this movie the first go round, I was very much in his corner, like nobody's believing me, like all this shit's fucked up. The second time I watched it yesterday, I had a different perspective where I was like watching Shia's character just get lost in this paranoia state. He's like basically having a psychotic break because nobody's believing him. But I didn't remember how it ended. So this movie does a really good job of this back and forth kind of psychological trip. So yeah, great pick. Loved it then, love it now. Yeah, also a Shia LaBeouf fan too. He was just in Megalopolis, lots of good things, except for that one could use some
Extremely
help.
heady human being.
Yeah.
Jordan, what were your thoughts?
All right, so growing up, this film was obviously like the one you always told your friends about. Like you've got to go because it was PG-13, so you could you could go see it. You didn't have to be 18 or whatever to go see it, and all that. Or what was it, 16?
No,
whatever
18.
the fucking age, 18 for radar. So it was the fucking hit. Like everyone went to go see it. I probably watched it like 4 or 5 times, but I haven't seen it in for like 14 or 15 years. So I had this perception of like nostalgia and whatever going into it. And then me and my wife watched it the other night, and it's just, I don't know, man. Like there's just so much like buildup that isn't like great buildup. And the last 15 minutes of the movie are fucking awesome. It's great. But like the first like hour and 20 is just like, I don't know, teenage comedy that's just like doesn't really appeal to me in my 30s.
There is a shit I noticed upon watching it. There's a shit ton of buildup. Like it takes a while for shit to start happening.
I hope you noticed it because literally there's like no screen time for the villain. And he's awesome.
Yeah,
that dude
is great.
David Morse is the actor, and he is one of the best. Besides, I would say Shia, the best actor in that movie. And they give him like 15 minutes of screen time, if that, 10 minutes.
Yeah. I think it's purposeful, just because I mean, you have him on screen, you have his character. Like if you give the audience too much insight into his character, I think it gives everything away. I think that
ending, it spoils the ending.
Right.
But like, there's really nothing going on for the first like hour and 20 minutes of that movie.
A lot of voyeurism. I mean, that's kind of like the MO of this movie is Shia on house arrest, right?
Yeah, and I think like I do love that scene where she throws the party and he brings out the speakers and he plugs up the iPod and he just spins the volume thing and just walks away. I find that scene so funny.
There's a line.
Anthony, I was like, iPod, iPod.
Well, I wrote down this line, of Shia LaBeouf saying that's 60 gigs of my life right there. So like that's like the scariest part in the whole movie to me is he's about to chunk the iPod.
It's totally not a scary movie. It's not scary at all.
No.
It's definitely tense. At least towards the end, it gets a bit tense. But I don't know.
Yeah, I will say
I wish there was more to give. That's all. I really like the ending, and the nostalgia factors there because I remember watching it so much as a kid, but it doesn't quite hit as much as it used to.
I will say though, like the ending is very confusing to me in the sense of like the layout of the house. I don't really like know how the fuck people are ending up where they're ending up in that ending sequence.
At some point in the movie, they end up with the blueprints of the house.
Yeah, like how do they get the?
They end up with the blueprints of the house at some point too.
Like, but then like when he goes downstairs and to find his mom, the villain is just like already there somehow, like behind the mom, and it never really like. You have no concept of how big his house is.
That is Carrie-Anne Moss from The Matrix. So
Drew,
forgot about her, and then I was like, I know who that is. So,
yeah. Well, look, I enjoyed watching it again. Made me laugh. Thought there was some scary moments. Always will be a classic to me, even if it's not some phenomenal movie. I still really enjoyed it. So I'd say good pick, Trey. I like it.
Yeah, thank you, bud.
Fuck yeah. All right, so next week the album is Anthony and the movie is me. So Anthony, what do you got?
All right, so we are going to the 90s, and we are going to listen to a little album called Jagged Little Pill, Alanis Morissette.
Fuck, dude. Fuck yes.
Great
Nice.
album.
Yep.
Cool.
Why? Why did you pick that?
We will find out. We will find out. Can't
Okay,
spoil it.
okay, so for me, I'm going even further back than Trey, and we are going to watch the first
Scream.
Friday the
Oh,
13th.
Friday the 13th.
Yes. And I'm picking the first Friday the 13th because I've seen Scream 1 through 6 probably 15 times. And I
was
going
gonna
to
bet my life that you would have picked Scream.
I
I was-
realized you picked Scream too.
I needed to do an OG first scary movie, so we're gonna do the first Friday the 13th because
Never
there's a
seen
lot.
it.
There's a lot to talk about with that one, and that's those old movies. Well, we'll talk about it. So yeah. Well, Jordan, great to have you on, brother, as always.
So
You
in
know-
like 10, 15, 20 episodes.
Yeah,
Yeah,
We'll do the Smile, and there was another album. Oh, Houses of the Holy. We'll do that.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
we'll do it
Yeah.
at some point.
Or any
Ghost Story.
Radiohead. Always
Yeah.
bring Radiohead. I'm there.
Fuck
Fuck
yeah. All right,
Fire.
well, guys, it was a blast as always. We kept it right at 1:15. You're welcome for that,
On the
Bose.
dot.
Everybody else, we'll see you next week. Peace, guys.
See y'all. Go vote.